Today we're going to be talking about Ripple, XRP, and why the recent acquisitions from Ripple might not be reflected in the price of XRP. Because guys, Ripple just hit a $40 billion valuation. But look at your XRP bag. Is it following that growth? Right? Today we are going to be going through the 7 acquisitions that made Ripple an institutional titan and why they might be the very thing keeping the XRP price in check. Guys, I know this is, some of you might be clicking away right now because you get an upset feeling in your stomach, right? We have all these expectations for XRP. We see everything that Ripple's doing and we think it has to happen. But at some point, we need to take a step back and have a reality check. Okay, maybe XRP is going to the prices we think it is. But maybe Ripple is just turning themselves into a financial titan and XRP is just a tiny piece of the puzzle. So here we go. We are going to go through the acquisitions one by one. We're going to talk about what they do and how it may or may not help the price of XRP. So we're going to start with Metaco. Okay, Ripple acquired these guys for 250 million bucks. This is their foundation for custody. So Metaco is a Swiss firm providing bank-grade custody for digital assets. So this acquisition turned Ripple into a software as a service provider for tier 1 banks like HSBC and BNP Paribas. It shifted Ripple's revenue from selling XRP to selling high margin software licenses. So what is the disconnect with this acquisition of Metaco and XRP? Metaco is asset agnostic. Banks use it to store Bitcoin and Ethereum just as easy as XRP. Ripple earns fees regardless of which coin the bank chooses. So making XRP just another option, right? It's just another option in a long list of supported assets. Acquisition number 2 is standard custody, which is the regulatory key. So what do? They were a New York chartered trust company that provides regulated custody and escrow services. How does it benefit Ripple? This gave Ripple a New York DFS trust charter, which is the gold standard for financial licenses. It allowed them to legally launch and back their own stablecoin, RLUSD. Why does this not really help XRP? Because this deal was about compliance, not currency. It allows Ripple to custody any asset for institutions that are legally barred from holding volatile tokens like XRP, essentially building a pathway for banks to ignore XRP entirely if they choose. Okay, it doesn't make XRP absolutely required, right? It was a deal about compliance. It was a deal about putting another notch in the Ripple banking belt, not specifically benefiting XRP. So let's move on to the third one, guys. Fortress Trust. This is the Web3 on-ramp. They are a regulated digital financial institution that provides the back-end infrastructure for wallets and on and off ramps. So this acquisition allowed Ripple to offer wallet as a service. Any company can now build a crypto app using Ripple's back-end without needing to worry about the regulatory heavy lifting. Great for Ripple. But what about XRP? Most enterprise clients using these on-ramps want to move US dollars. So while the tech could technically use XRP, Fortress was acquired to streamline the movement of fiat and stablecoins, reducing the friction that previously made XRP's speed a necessary bridge. Next, Hidden Road. This was a $1.25 billion acquisition, and it was a prime brokerage acquisition. So what do? What does Hidden Road do? This is a massive global prime broker that clears over $3 trillion in annual volume for over 300 institutional clients. So how does this benefit Ripple? This was rebranded as Ripple Prime, which turns Ripple into a Wall Street gatekeeper. They now can offer clearing, credit, and trading services for hedge funds and high-frequency traders. So what's the XRP disconnect here? Ripple Prime makes its money on clearing fees and interest. To minimize risk, institutions prefer to use RLUSD, which is Ripple's stablecoin, and they use this as collateral for their trades. This creates a closed-loop system where Ripple's stablecoin, not XRP, is the primary driver of institutional volume. The next acquisition is GTreasury. This was for $1 billion. This is corporate infiltration. So what do? They are a treasury management system used by some of the world's largest corporations like Volvo to manage their daily cash and payments. So how does this benefit Ripple? Ripple now sits inside the command center of the world's biggest corporate balance sheets, managing over 12 trillion in annual payment volume. So how about the XRP? Corporate treasuries are legally obligated to avoid high-risk assets. They use Ripple software for real-time settlement, but they do it using RLUSD or direct fiat rails. For them, XRP is kind of a speculative risk asset, which they have no reason to touch. So again, XRP is not benefited by Ripple's acquisition of GTreasury. It benefits Ripple, turns them into a massive digital bank, but XRP specifically doesn't really benefit. Next, acquisition number 6 is Rail, 200 million bucks. This is the stablecoin engine. So what do? It's a stablecoin focused payment platform that handles virtual accounts and automated payouts. It benefits Ripple by making RLUSD, which again is Ripple's stablecoin, a direct competitor to USDT and USDC. It will allow Ripple to capture the billions of dollars in fees currently flowing through stablecoin market. How does this not benefit XRP though? This is the ODL killer, the on-demand liquidity killer. For a decade, the bull case for XRP was its role as the bridge currency, right? Bridge currency for cross-border transactions. By launching a highly efficient stablecoin rail, Ripple has built a superior bridge that lacks the volatility that banks have always feared in XRP. And number 7, the 7th acquisition is Palisade. This is the high frequency vault. So what do? They're a digital asset custody platform specializing in hot wallets for high frequency transactions. This rounds out Ripple's full stack. They now have Metaco for cold storage, Palisade for high velocity in trading and payments. But what about XRP? Palisade focuses on tokenized real-world assets like bonds and real estate. While these live on the XRP ledger, they are priced in dollars. The volume generated here might use XRP for a fraction of a penny in gas fees, but it doesn't require anyone to hold XRP. So what's the final verdict? Do you guys notice the pattern? Ripple is building the Amazon of finance. Amazon is a $1 trillion company, but you don't need to own Amazon coin to buy things on their site. Ripple has spent $4 billion to make sure they win, even if the XRP price never goes up. They are now a software, licensing, and fee generating machine. And as an XRP holder, you have to ask yourself, is Ripple still building for XRP? Or are they building a world where XRP is just one of 1,000 assets that they're going to charge a fee to move? Guys, let's think about it, okay? Let's use some critical thinking and actually understand what we own. Does Ripple the bank, does Ripple and their 7 acquisitions, do they directly benefit XRP? Or is XRP just another tool in the tool belt that will be used sparingly when they need it? Until the next time, this is Ledger Prime.